I didn't sit down after the call. Sitting felt like permission, like telling my body it could stop pretending it was fine. I stayed on my feet in the middle of the cab, palms flat on the counter, breathing shallow so the bandages wouldn't pull. My back had shifted from sharp pain to a steady burn, the kind that doesn't spike and fade. It just stays. Every time I inhaled deep, it tugged like the skin was trying to separate under the gauze. I forced myself into procedure because procedure is the only thing that keeps you from doing something stupid when you're alone. First aid kit, inventory, confirm supplies, confirm radio battery, confirm the generator fuel gauge, confirm the tower door deadbolt is seated, confirm the trapdoor latch is engaged. I peeled the wrap back slowly and felt the gauze drag. Fresh sting, fresh heat. 4 gashes, swollen and angry, not clean, slightly curved, like the thing's fingers weren't spaced the way fingers should be. I cleaned it again in the window reflection. Antiseptic burned hard enough to make my eyes water. New gauze layered thick. Tape pressed down until it stuck. Compression wrap around my torso as tight as I could handle without blacking out. It hurt worst when I finished. That's how I knew it mattered. I set the kit back and put the radio on the counter with the volume up. No more radio on low for comfort. If it crackled, I wanted to hear it. If it went quiet, I wanted to know exactly when. I checked the clock above the window. 40 minutes had become 34. Outside, the last light was gone. The tower windows turned into mirrors. The world beyond was mostly a hard black tree line and a darker sky. Not full night yet. That in-between stage where you can see just enough to imagine shapes moving and not enough to confirm anything. I did one slow lap of the cabin anyway. Window latches, door, deadbolt, trapdoor, ladder bracket bolts. The tower was designed to see everything and hide from nothing. A glass box in the sky. The only reason it felt safe was because it had a lock. That thought had barely finished forming when I heard it. Thunk. Soft impact against one of the tower legs. Not wind, not a branch. Too precise. I didn't move right away. I just listened. Silence for 3 seconds. Then, thunk. Same spot, same rhythm. I went to the floor grate near the corner and looked straight down through it. At first, I saw support beams in black. Nothing between them. Then something shifted at the point where the leg met the ground. A limb, thin and too long, curled around the metal like it was hugging it. The joint folded wrong for half a second, then corrected itself like it realized I was watching. It tapped the leg again. Once, like it was knocking. My radio crackled. Static, then a click like an open channel was being forced. I grabbed it and pressed transmit. Tower 12 to dispatch. It's under the tower. I have contact. Static for a beat. Then a voice. Male. Wind in the mic. Breath. Background road noise. Tower 12. Copy. Stay inside. We're on the road. 10 minutes out. Relief hit me so hard my knees loosened. Copy. It's... The tapping stopped below. The limb slid away from the metal with a slow, dragging motion. Not hiding, not feeling, just moving like it had all night. I waited for it to leave. Instead, it spoke from below the tower. Hey. My voice. Same pitch, same tired edge. Even the pause before the word like it was deciding whether I'd respond. My mouth opened on instinct and I shut it again so hard my teeth clicked. It tried again. Closer. You're bleeding. My voice again, slightly off, like someone said it while smiling. I backed away from the gate, keeping the windows in my peripheral. My wrap shifted and my back flared. The radio hissed. Tower 12, do not respond to any voices outside your cab. I'm not. I whispered and realized my own voice sounded different now. Tight, smaller. Below it changed the sound. Please. A woman's voice, thin, ragged. The same vocal shape as the scream earlier, but controlled now. Like it learned how to hold it in and use it carefully. The tower creaked once as the temperature dropped. Then the stairs rang. Not a climb, not a run. One step. A slow test like someone shifting weight on the bottom platform. I moved to the window nearest the stairs and looked down. Nothing on the steps. But I could hear it. Something moving near the base. Circling. Dragging something lightly along a post like a fingernail. It wasn't rushing. It was learning the structure. The radio crackled again. We're 2 minutes out.
Do you have eyes on it?
No. I can hear it under me.
Copy.
That copy sounded forced, like he'd said it before in a situation he didn't want to remember. I stayed near the door because some part of me wanted to be ready to unlock it the second the headlights hit the clearing. I wanted it over. I wanted to stop listening to my own voice coming from below my feet. That's when the voice shifted location. Not from below, from right outside the tower cab. Close enough it felt like someone was speaking through the seam of the door.
You can open the door now.
Dispatch's voice. Not the real one. The wrong one. Calm, flat, too intimate. My radio in my hand was silent. No transmit light, no static. The voice wasn't coming through the speaker. It was just there. The handle twitched once, not rattled, not slammed, twitched. I checked the deadbolt by feel, still thrown, still seated. The handle twitched again. Then the voice became mine. Soft, almost reasonable. Please, I can't stay out here. Under it, wet, controlled breathing, like lungs trying to stay quiet and failing. I took a step back, spine tight. The radio burst with real static and the ranger's real voice.
Tower 12, do not open the door. Our unit is at the base cabin. Repeat, do not open the door until you see us.
I hear it at the door, I whispered.
We know,
He said, no uncertainty now.
Stay put.
Headlights swung through the trees and cut across the clearing in a harsh white. A truck first, then another behind it. Flashlights bobbing as two people moved fast toward the base. The clearing looked wrong under headlights. Too flat, too empty. Shadows were sharp enough to feel like edges. I leaned toward the window, careful, and scanned the timber when the light died. I caught a tall shape stepping backwards into darkness, like it didn't want to be seen by them. Not panicked, deciding. My mouth opened and I started to warn them. And then the tower shuddered. Something slammed the support leg hard enough that the whole structure vibrated. Metal groaned, my teeth clicked together. I grabbed the counter to keep from falling, and pain tore across my back as the wrap shifted. Warm wetness spread under the gauze. Outside, one of the rangers yelled something I couldn't hear through the glass. Then the woods answered with a voice.
Help me!
Except I could see him in the headlights at the base of the stairs, weapons raised, not moving toward that sound at all. The thing had his voice now. The ranger in the clearing shouted to his partner, sharp and practiced.
Stay in the light. Don't chase anything.
The tower shuddered again, lower impact, like it threw its weight into the stairs this time. I heard the metal complain, and then came the first new beat. Something I didn't expect because I didn't think it could do anything subtle. The tower light flickered, not because I hit a switch, not because the generator died. Just a single stutter, bright to dim to bright, like someone brushed a finger across the power line. My stomach dropped, because for the half second the windows weren't mirrors anymore. They were black, and in that black, my own reflection vanished. I saw something move close to the glass, a shape pressed up and then away so fast I couldn't lock it in, like it had been right there, inches from my face, waiting for the moment the light dipped. The radio crackled.
Tower 12,
The ranger said.
report.
My lights just flickered, like it did something. There was a pause.
Copy. Stay away from the windows.
I didn't. I tried. I failed, because the second new beat hit right after. A thin tapping started against one of the windows. Not loud, not a slam, just a careful, patient tick, 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 like a fingernail. It moved around the frame slowly, testing each edge, not trying to break it, mapping it. Then the tapping stopped at the small pane beside the door, the same one that had cracked earlier. The glass fogged. Two flat eyes appeared in the condensation, perfectly still. Then the eyes blinked once, slow, like it was practicing. The crack widened with a tiny ping. I flinched back hard enough my shoulder hit the wall. Outside, the rangers moved. One ran to the stairs and started climbing, boots clanging. The other yelled something that sounded like,
No! Stop!
The climber got halfway up and then the thing hit the stairs from below. Not climbing like a person, not like an animal, but launching upward in a burst, grabbing railings, joints snapping and correcting as it moved. Fast enough that the ranger's head snapped down in surprise, and it leaned in closer to his ear and spoke. My voice. Drop it. The ranger flinched, just a fraction. That fraction was enough. The thing swung its arm out, not a claw swipe, a shove. The ranger's boots slipped off a tread. He caught the railing, hanging, legs kicking in empty air. His partner below grabbed the staircase supports and shouted his name. I moved to the trapdoor without thinking, dropped to my knees and yanked it open, and grabbed the ladder. Cold air surged up. The smell surged with it, stronger now. Wet earth and metal and something sour. I climbed down 2 rungs, enough to reach him if he managed to pull himself back up. My back screamed, but adrenaline shoved the pain inside.
Keep your weight close, I shouted. Feet under you. Don't swing.
The ranger grunted, hauled, found the tread again, and then the thing lunged past him. It wasn't going for the ranger. It was going for me. A long hand shot up through the open trapdoor, fingers splaying like they weren't sure how many they needed. It caught my ankle, cold and strong, like metal left outside overnight. Not just cold, dead cold, like an absence. It yanked. My body slid down the ladder rung. Pain flashed white hot across my back, and I felt tape give. Blood warmed my skin. I screamed and kicked, heel slamming into something bony. It didn't let go. It pulled again, harder, and something in my ankle twisted wrong. Not a full snap, but enough to spike nausea. The ranger below grabbed my other leg and hauled upward. Hold on! For half a second, I was stretched between them, me above, it below, like a rope of tug-of-war. The hanging ranger now braced again, brought his knife out and slashed at the thing's forearm. The blade didn't cut like flesh. It snagged like thick hide, then tore free with a wet sound and a faint spray of something dark. The thing let go, not because it was hurt, because it decided it had gotten what it wanted. I slammed back onto the tower floor, gasping. My hand shook so hard I almost dropped the trap door. I dragged it closed with both hands and threw that latch so hard it clacked. For a second, I just lay there, cheek on the cold floor, breathing like I'd sprinted a mile. My ankle throbbed. My back burned with fresh blood under the wrap. Below, the ranger shouted commands, tight and controlled. They didn't chase into the timber. They stayed in the headlights and pulled back together. The thing screeched, furious, layered, high and low enough to make my teeth ache. Then one of the rangers raised a small device and triggered it. The sound was thin and brutal, like a dentist's drill inside your skull. High enough it felt like pressure behind the eyes. The creature's screech cut off instantly, like someone hit mute. The smell thinned. The tapping stopped. The air felt less crowded. For the first time since I arrived, nothing moved out there. Silence. The radio crackled.
Tower 12. Status?
I pressed transmit with shaking fingers. I'm alive. I'm bleeding again. It grabbed my ankle through the trapdoor.
Copy. We're coming up. Do not open the door until you see our faces.
Copy. Flashlight beams climbed the stairs and hit the windows. I forced myself not to rush, forced myself to stay behind the door and watch through the cracked pane. 2 men, agency gear, headlamp, handheld light. I could see their faces when they reached the platform. Real eyes, real breath fogging in cold air. I unlocked the deadbolt and stepped back. When the door opened, cold air rushed in hard, carrying diesel, sweat, pine sap, dirt, normal smells that hit like a lifeline. The one with the headlamp took one look at the crack in the window and smear of blood on my shirt and said flatly, "You're done here." The other kept his eyes on the tree line through the glass while he spoke. "You respond at any point?" "No." "You sure?" I didn't answer. I almost did, but I didn't. He nodded once like that mattered more than anything else. "Turn around," the headlamp ranger said. I did. He cut the wrap carefully and peeled gauze back. Air hit the wounds and my vision fuzzed. "You're leaking," he said. "Not catastrophic, but you're not staying." He slapped fresh gauze on, pressed hard, wrapped my torso higher. I hissed. Then he looked at my ankle. "Sock." I pulled it down. A bruise was blooming around my ankle in the shape of fingers, too long and too narrow, like something pressed and held. The headlamp ranger started for a beat too long. "That's not good," he said. "No kidding." He didn't laugh. They got me upright and guided me up to the stairs. "Slow. Stay between us. Don't look into the trees. Don't talk to anything you hear." Down the stairs, every step sent a bolt through my back. My ankle didn't want to flex right. I kept my weight centered and let them move me like a broken piece of gear. At the base, the clearing felt wrong, even with headlights. Light didn't make it comforting. It made it clinical. Everything outside the beam was pure black. They moved me straight into the truck. Doors slammed, locks clicked. A medic leaned in with gloves and gauze and a small flashlight. "Are you allergic to anything?" he asked. "No."
He peeled the wrap and looked at my back. He didn't react the way normal people react to bad cuts. No wide eyes, no how did that happen, just a small nod, like he'd seen the pattern. Okay, we're cleaning it and rewrapping. You're gonna hate it. I already do. He cleaned it thoroughly. It burned hard. He wrapped it with something that actually held. Then he checked my ankle, tested movement. Sprain at minimum. You're lucky it didn't break. Lucky wasn't the word I'd choose, but I didn't argue. The ranger who'd been on the radio got in the driver's seat. He didn't turn the truck around immediately. He stared forward through the windshield, like he was daring something to step into the beam again. His partner stood outside with his light pointed at the tree line, body angled like he could move if he had to. The driver looked at me in the mirror and said, "It spoke to you." Yes. Use names? It used my voice. Dispatch, a woman. Then it used your voice to try to split you. He nodded once. Then he said, "Tower 12 isn't understaffed." My stomach dropped. What? It's bait. They rotate people in because nobody lasts. They call it temporary coverage because if they call it what it is, nobody signs the paperwork. My hands went cold. Then why did they send me? He didn't answer immediately. Finally, he said, "Because you made it back to the door." I stared at him. He added, quieter, "And because you didn't talk to it." We rolled forward. As the truck turned and the tower slid out of view, I forced myself to look out the passenger window one last time. At the tree line, just beyond where the light died, 2 flat eyes caught for a split second. Low, watching. Calm. Not charging, not retreating. Just watching the truck like it was watching a clock. Then they were gone. The drive down the service road felt longer than the drive up. Every bump sent pain through my back. My ankle throbbed in a slow pulse. I tried to focus on normal things. The dash lights, the smell of old coffee, the squeak of the wipers even though it wasn't raining. Because my brain kept replaying the same detail. It grabbed my ankle like it was taking a measurement. Not frantic, not random. Deliberate. Like it wanted to know exactly how much force it took to pull me down. At the district station, nobody ran to greet us. No surprise, no what happened. Just the door held open, a quick glance at me, and a very controlled urgency. The kind you see when people want something handled quietly. They put me in a small office, folding chair, desk with binder stacked too neatly, a fluorescent light that made everything look tired. A supervisor came in, middle-aged, tired eyes, the kind of person who spent a career writing incidents in careful language. He looked at my injuries, then at the ranger who drove me. "How bad?" he asked. "Manageable. Needs stitches. Needs rest." The supervisor nodded like he expected that answer. Then he looked at me. "Tell me what you saw." I started from the hoodie, the shoe, the shirt, the scream, the wrong dispatch voice, the flat eyes, the screech, the attack, and the way it moved, the tapping on the window, the light flicker, the stairs, the trap door, the grab. He didn't interrupt. He just wrote. When I finished, he set his pen down and said, "Did you answer it?" "No." "Did you speak to it?" "No." "Did you repeat anything it said?" I stared at him. "No." He nodded once like that was the only part he cared about. Then he slid a form across the desk. "Wildlife incident," it read. "Injury sustained while returning to post." I felt anger come back into me. Clean anger. Useful anger. This is a lie. "It's a version that keeps from becoming a circus," he replied. "It keeps hikers from showing up trying to film it. It keeps people from going missing because they think it's a fun story." I stared at the form. "What happened to the last guy?" I asked. The supervisor didn't look away. "He left early." "That's what the email said. That's what we say." The ranger who drove me spoke low. "He answered it." My stomach turned. "He hurt his kid," the ranger continued. "Opened the door. We found his jacket on the loop trail." I thought about the ranger-issued green jacket I'd found and felt my throat tighten. "So it leaves markers?" The supervisor's jaw tightened just slightly. "It does. And missing hikers," I said. He didn't answer, which was an answer. I signed the form, not because I agreed, because I wanted out of that room. They stitched my back at the clinic. The nurse didn't ask how because I said trail accident and kept my eyes on the wall. My ankle was wrapped and iced. I left with pain meds I didn't take because I didn't want my head foggy. I drove home and checked my mirrors too often. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid in bed, listening to normal house noises. The fridge hum, the heater kicking on, pipes ticking as they cooled. I kept expecting a sound that didn't belong. Tapping, scraping, a familiar voice from a place it shouldn't be. At 2:11 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You did good." I stared at it until my eyes burned. Then I did the sensible thing. I didn't reply. I blocked the number, then immediately felt stupid because blocking a number doesn't block whatever made my tower light flicker. But here's the thing. The part that makes it no sleep and not a campfire legend. I can't prove that text came from anything other than a person. A ranger, a supervisor, some bored coworker who got my number off the paperwork. A cruel prank. I told myself that and almost believed it. Until the next morning when my supervisor called and offered me another assignment. Different district, different tower, lower incident rate. I said no. He didn't argue, just said quietly, "If you hear a familiar voice in the woods, don't answer it." Then he hung up. I resigned the next week. Paperwork, exit interview. The HR person smiled too much and asked if I'd consider reapplying later. I said no. I didn't say why, because saying why turns it into a story, and stories spread, and people treat warnings like entertainment. Weeks passed, then months. My back healed into raised pale lines that ached when the weather turned. My ankle stayed stiff if I pushed it too hard. I took a maintenance job in town. Boring, predictable, people around. The kind of work where you don't have enough quiet to hear your own thoughts too clearly. It almost helped. Then one night, after a late shift, I was walking to my truck behind the building, and I heard someone say my name. My real name. Not shouted, not panicked, just spoken like someone knew I'd turn. I froze. The parking lot lights buzzed. The air smelled like fresh asphalt and cut grass. A distant train horn. Normal. I didn't turn around. I stood still and listened. No footsteps, no second calling. Nothing. I got in my truck and drove home with my hands locked on the wheels and my eyes flicking to mirrors too often. When I got home, my porch light was on. I didn't leave it on. I checked the lock. Locked. No signs of tampering, no fresh marks, nothing obvious. On the welcome mat, though, centered like someone placed it there, was a single gray pine needle. I stared at it. I lived nowhere near pine trees. Could it have blown in on my shoe? Sure. Could it have clung to my sock from some earlier walk? Maybe. Could it have been stuck to the bottom of my work bag and fallen off when I set it down? It's possible. That's the problem. Everything has a normal explanation if you want it bad enough. I put on gloves anyway, rolled the mat up and threw it in a trash bag. Then I checked every window, every lock, every corner of my house like I'd never lived there before. That night, I slept with the light on. Not because it would stop anything, because I needed my brain to believe I had control over something. And here's the ending I can actually live with. I never went back to that ridge. I didn't go looking for answers. I didn't try to prove anything. I didn't tell a big dramatic story to the wrong person and end up trending on someone's feed. I quit. I healed. I stayed around people. Because whatever is out there doesn't just copy voices. It listens. It learns routines. It tests decisions. And it didn't try to kill me fast. It touched me twice, not to finish the job, just to measure what it could do. The back gashes were a warning. The ankle grab was a test. Like it was collecting information the same way it collected voices. If it's still on that ridge, I hope it stays there. If it isn't, if it can move farther than they think, then the only reason I'm still here is because I did the one thing everyone kept telling me to do, even when it felt wrong. I didn't answer it, and I don't. Not when I hear my name from the wrong direction, not when I hear help carried on wind that isn't blowing, not when a voice uses the same exact tone my brain trusts. I let the guilt hook slide off. I keep walking. Because out there, sometimes the thing that wants you most isn't the thing that's chasing. It's the thing that's waiting for you to turn around.